y'all. Welcome back to the Late Night Vision Show. This is episode number 178. My name is Jason. I am the owner of Outdoor Legacy. We specialize in selling all kinds of night vision and thermal imaging. And as always, I've got my co-host, Hans, from the Hans East Texas YouTube channel. What's going on tonight, sir?
What's going on with you? What is going on with everybody out there in radio and YouTube and iTunes and Spotify land and every other audio streaming service? But wanted to say one thing. We need to do this before we jump in the show. But anyway, first of all, we're going to have a great show. We're going to be talking about best hog hunting setups for 2021, which is a follow-up show to our best coyote hunting setups for this year. But I want to give a special thank you to a gentleman by the name of Ashley Rowe. Jason, this is a good friend of yours, a good friend of mine. He lives down your ways, a little town called Carthage. Yeah. I don't know if he actually lives in Carthage, maybe a little town outside.
No, he
Carthage.
does not. You're actually that's too big of a place for him.
Too big. I was figuring. I've been to his house, and there's no fast food joints in his town, so it's a small town. But he took us hunting last week, and I tell you, he put us on a bunch of hogs, ran us around all night long. Good guy, super nice guy. He good hunter, good hog hunter. I mean, just all around fun time. We had success. Jason and I got to go out and we shot hogs on every stop that Ashley took us, and we had a really good time. And it was man, I just can't say enough good things, because you and I in the past we hunt, and when we get together, like you and I separate, we hunt really hard, but together we are less than motivated sometimes, because this was our probably second best. I mean, I don't know, it could be considered a tie for our first. We had one really good hunt here on my place that was fantastic. This was a whole night of really good hunting with Ashley. I would say everything else with us has pretty much been a bust, and we're just glad to get a hog or a coyote. So this was good though. He was had a good time. He was sandbagging a little bit. He said, "Well, I think we'll see one hog," and we saw dozens. So we ended up getting,
we saw. I bet we saw 30 between the first two stops. I mean, the first two places we went to, it was a ton of hogs. Now, sadly to say, we did not kill them all. We left a few to reseed the population.
Yeah, you got to save some for
there's
the next
plenty
time.
Left out there. There's plenty.
Jason got charged by a hog, and Ashley Rowe saved his life by.
I don't know if I'd call it charged more than there was so much wild shooting with bullets going every direction. He didn't know where to run, so he ran straight at us. Yeah, Ashley saved my life. That's my story.
He did. So, but thank you, Mr. Ashley Rowe. Go check out his YouTube channel, R4 Legacy. And you can also find him on Instagram too, R4 Legacy. He invited us out. Nice guy, super good dude. And I know he's a big supporter of not just the Late Night Vision Show, but of Outdoor Legacy. And also, if you're looking to purchase any night vision or thermal optic, please check out the website, outdoorlegacygear.com. I have a lot of y'all have taken me up on my offer, because on the last show I said, hey, call me. You can talk to me directly. We'll talk about these scopes. Well, a lot of y'all have taken me up on that. You can call me or Jason, but you can talk to us anytime between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. whenever we can have Texas time. And you can talk to us if you're interested in purchasing a scope, 877-350-1818. Like I said, a lot of y'all have already done so. And it's great. I love I'm not going to say every single one, but a lot of people are saying, I watched the show, love the show. I mean, I'd say 80 or 90% of the people that call in and say they watch the show. But anyway, back to the main topic. We got all of the housekeeping stuff out of the way, but we are talking about the best hog hunting setups for 2021. This is, first of all, we need to talk a little bit about magnifications, because we talked in the past. We did our coyote hunting show. We talked about how we prefer, the 3.5 power, even up to 4 power magnification. But there was some crossover, and there can be some crossover in those magnifications between southern hog hunters and northwest or northeast coyote hunters. And so the same could be said a little bit on the hog hunting side, maybe not as dramatic, because we're not going to suggest any 4-power optics, I think, in this series, but there is some. Let's go ahead and kind of lay the foundation for this magnification talk, Jason, before we jump into the scopes.
Yeah, so I mean, generally speaking, I just think this is across the board. If you just said, real quick, you have 1 second to answer.
Yeah.
Best magnification for hog hunters, I'm going to say 2.5 power. I mean, I just think that's my gut reaction. It's normally going to give you a very wide field of view, low magnification. Most hog hunters, or I shouldn't say, a lot of hog hunters that are going to be spotting and stalking. You spot them way out there, you go walk up to them, you get close, you want wide field of view. You don't need magnification because you may only be 20, 30, 40 yards away from them. 2 power is plenty for that closer range shooting. So that's what I think Hans and I both prefer for our spot and stalk close range hunting. And I'm going to kind of get into, maybe give you some real life scenarios even from just the other night. But you can use 3 power. We have a lot of guys that are buying 3 power scopes for hog hunting, and that does work. And Hans and I have talked about in the past how, we have gotten to using more 3 power scopes, even for hog hunting. And we like that to a degree. But I think that I'm going to give an example of Hans and I hunting with Ashley the other night where we kind of got into this situation. Hans and I were both using 3 power scopes. Ashley was using a 2 power scope. And in my opinion, the style of hunting we were doing that night, he had an advantage over us. Or at least he had an advantage over me. Hans may be good enough that it wasn't a disadvantage to him. No. But here was the problem for me. Because we were spotting and stalking and there was 3 of us, okay? If you're by yourself and you get up on a group of hogs and you start shooting, the hogs take off running, but generally, I mean, let's just say they're headed for cover. Right. Those hogs are going to run in a straight line or zigzagging, whatever, for a pretty good ways, normally until you shoot again. You shoot again, scares them. They go, oh my gosh, what just happened? Where'd that come from? And then they may do a 180. They may turn 90 degrees and run somewhere else. Well, the problem is when you've got 3 guys with semi-auto ARs and those hogs start running, everybody is boom, boom, boom. So what happens is those hogs are like ants and they are running in circles. They may be running as fast as they can to the left. Somebody shoots. Yeah. Man, they're headed right.
They're all around. I mean, one of them ran up your leg. The other one ran around the other end. You hear them coming behind you. I mean, it is pandemonium, chaos. It is chaos. Absolutely.
And so and again, that's something that most of my hunting is by myself. That's how I do most of my spotting and stalking. And I know that Hans hunts a lot by himself. He hunts a lot with, his hunting buddy Patrick, that's a pro staffer for Outdoor Legacy. They hunt a good bit together, but still, it's just 2 of them. And I mean, that's still an issue, but 3 just makes it worse. And so my point is where I was having trouble with this 3 power scope is we take the first shot, man, I can make a precision shot because I've got the magnification. But when they start going everywhere, I was having a lot of trouble getting on those follow-up shots like I needed to. Then when I had that one that was trying to run up my pant leg, I literally could see that hog. It was full moon night, super bright. Yeah, I could see that hog with my naked eye, but I couldn't find him in the scope because it was all happening too fast.
We heard squealing. We thought it was a pig. It turned out to be Jason squealing because that pig was running at him. But I swear the whole night, it didn't matter where I stood. I got pinged by Ashley's hot brass every time he shot. I could be on the other side of you, and it still hit me in the back.
His brass was still hitting you.
It just had a magnetic beam on. But you're exactly right on that. With we all, and I don't want to drag this part of the conversation out too far, but I now am preferring a 3 power optic. Sometimes even a little bit more, but with coyote hunting and hog hunting, but. Talking about Patrick, our pro staffer, he uses a XQ50, a 3.5 power, and loves it and has no problem at all. But again, typically we don't get up on a lot of large groups like we got on with Ashley the other night, but you've got, and for people out there that are it's hard to understand this because you don't hunt with groups of people. I mean, we are all shoulder to shoulder in a straight line. I mean, so much so that we do it on purpose, but you cannot turn at all, hardly, without bumping into.
Can't shoot your buddy.
Yeah, that's why we do it, is you stand shoulder to shoulder. And so those pigs start running, and your window of your shooting window is even dramatically shortened by the fact of you only have a small slice of a pie or a small percentage of your field of view that you can even take a shot. So it is very difficult to do. But under certain circumstances, it is doable with the higher magnification stuff.
Yeah, and so I guess what I want to say, and I want to beat the dead horse. You're right, Hans. The 3-power works for a lot of guys. We probably sell as many 3-power hog hunting scopes as we do not. If you're hunting by yourself, I really don't see it as a big issue. If you're setting up on hogs that are going to be 60, 75, 80 yards away, I don't see it as a problem. If you're hunting hogs in a stand under a feeder or a corn pile those are all situations where, hey, a little extra magnification is nice. You can take a good precision shot, what have you. I just think that for my personal preference, shooting on big groups of hogs, especially with a lot of people and close, I prefer something under 3. So that's just my 2 cents. Now,
I think you did mention it. People that are shooting feeders, but we get people call all the time. My feeder's 75 or 120 yards away because they're set up for deer hunting, and that's what they typically sit them back a little bit further. Or a lot of people that call and say, "Hey, my eyes are not as good as they used to be." The higher magnification, that image is going to be larger on the screen, is a benefit for me. So sometimes it's not always deciding on what magnification level. It's not always a black and white decision. There's some gray areas and some things to consider, but distance of shot is the key denominator in the entire conversation of deciding on an optic. So keep that in mind as well.
So we're going to jump into this because I know we've already gone along on this, but I think it's important. And Hans and I, if you call and talk to us, we're going to talk to you first about, maybe budget, but magnification, because you've got to know what you want, or what will suit you best. And if you don't know, we're glad to help you. We can talk it out and get it sorted. But that's why we wanted to have this discussion here, because it is important. So I want to jump right in on this. We're going to try to go quick. I know when we did this on the coyote setups, it went long, and we may do it again because we're getting kind of late into this. But let's start with digital night vision. So this is going to be our less expensive night vision optics that are going to be a good place to get started in night hunting. And I think there's 2 scopes that fit this bill perfectly. That's going to be the Sightmark Wraith HD 2-power. So the base mag is 2-power. And by the way, folks, all these scopes we talk about are going to have, every scope is going to have digital zoom. We're not going to talk about it. We're going to talk about the base magnification because that's the most important thing. So the Wraith HD 2-power, it's $499. It's also a full color HD daylight optic. Really cool scope. We've talked about it, done reviews of this scope. I think the Sightmark Wraith 4K Max, that's a 3-power scope for $799. A lot of guys say, hey, is it really that much different? It is. The image quality with that super high resolution is there. It's a 3-power. I think it's still doable, again, for hog hunting. Either one of those are going to be my pick. I would not personally... for most people, again, this is a broad brush, all right? You may have a different scenario, but I probably would not go with the 4-power now that this 2-power is available in the HD. And then Pulsar's got some really great digital night vision scopes, but right now those scopes are all going to be ranging up there in that 3.5-power range, and so I would probably tend to lean towards one of these Sightmarks for the night vision category.
Yeah, traditionally it seems like the digital night vision, traditional night vision, the base magnifications have been considerably high, but when they came out with that Sightmark Wraith 2-power, there were a lot of people, a lot of southern hog hunters, Florida, Texas, Louisiana, that jumped all over it. That was a perfect, optic for the market for down here in the South for Southern hog hunters, and very popular right away. So that 2 power, I agree, and the 4K at 3 power. So we're going to move on to thermal now. So this again, best hog hunting setups. We've already done coyote hunting setups. Best hog hunting setups for 2021. We got the under $3,000 category, and again, we are not choosing the best. We're laying out all the options. So really, it's most important for you to listen up for your budget. So once you hear your number, make sure you keep your ears peeled. But this is the under $3,000 section. We're going to start out with the Bearing Optics Stimulus. This is a 2.3 power. The price on that's $1,495. A fairly new optic into the industry. This was the last or the latest new optic from Bearing Optics. I know they've got another one coming out pretty soon, but it's not going to be probably mentioned. We mentioned it a little bit last week, but it's not going to be in the hog hunting section. It's called the Super Yoder, so that can kind of tell you what it's focused on. We've got the AGM Rattler TS25. It's a 1.5 base magnification for $1,995. A very good optic, especially for folks that are primarily in that sweet spot of anything 75, 100 yards and in, 50 yards is a sweet spot for this scope. If that's what you're set up on, I think it's fantastic. We got the Bearing Optics R25, 1.4 power for $2,195. They recently did a price drop on that. Bearing Optics dropped that price down by $100. And we got the AGM Rattler TS35, which is a 2.2 power, $2,495. And I will say, between that and the last one on our list, the Bearing Optics Hogster R35 at 2 power, $2,575. Those two right there are very popular, I know, in this category because it's a 2 power. 2 power is just a really good starting point for hog hunting. Like Jason said, that's his favorite, and it's been his favorite for a long time. And I like to hunt with it too. But those two, the Rattler TS35 and the Hogster R35 are probably the ones that when people call in, we hear about and they ask about the most. Is that under 3,000? Those two optics, and very similar specs. We've talked about these in the past, Jason.
We reviewed all these optics that Hans just went over. I want to say one thing real quick. Bearing Optics Stimulus for $14.95. I know there's a lot of guys that right now are going to hear that and jump up and down and go, hey, we found a thermal scope. And maybe, but I would say the very first thing you need to do is you need to go back to the Late Night Vision show, go to the past episodes. I don't remember when it was. It was somewhere probably in the last month and a half, 2 months, where we reviewed that unit. You need to know about it. That is a 256 resolution, which most of these scopes are going to be a 384 resolution, or all these we just talked about will be. That is important. This scope is not going to be the scope you're going to want to go to if you're going to be, doing a lot of 100 or 150 yard shooting. This is going to be a close range scope if you're just trying to kill some hogs under a feeder at, 30, 40, 50, 60 yards, whatever. But I just want you to know it is a very entry-level scope. It does have, usage. I just want you to know what it is. Go watch that video so you'll have a better idea. But
that's episode 169. So y'all check that out. 169.
Yeah, there you go. 169. Now this Rattler, a TS25 and the Hogster R25, like Hans said, we have reviewed both those. We've even done a show where we kind of talked about, how they compare. Those are very good optics. Those are the optics that I'm going to recommend if you're hunting in the woods, hunting in the brush, you're hunting over feeders like, Hans said, that are close, 30, 40, 50, 60 yards. They are great for that. Right. Yes, you could shoot out there over 100 if you need to, but their sweet spot is really for that closer range hunting. Now, if you're going to move up and possibly do some shooting out there, more in the 75, 100, 150 at times, even 200, then I think the Rattler and the Hogster 35s are going to be a little bit better option. Again, you don't have to be shooting that far. I just think they're going to be a little more of an all-around optic. So if you got questions about any of those, and you go, well, my gosh, what's the difference? Just holler at us. That's what we're here for, and we're glad to help. But again, that's a great category. I think, to be honest with you, this is what we're calling our sub $3,000 entry level. I think that is the strongest category for the right magnifications for good scopes for hog hunters. I mean, it's just all of those scopes are really, really good for that.
Yeah.
Moving along. So we're going to go here and get into this $3,000 to about, $4,900 range. And this is a big category. I'm going to go over these pretty quick here. Now, what you're going to see is this trend of these 3-power optics that are really, again, yes, they will work, like we went over in the beginning. So we're going to throw these scopes in here. I think they're absolutely good for some hog hunters. Just, kind of know the stipulations we threw out before. Bearing Optics Super Hogster 3-power for $3,120. $3,120. I'm not going to lie to you. That's probably right now the most popular scope in this category. It is selling like hotcakes. Everybody seems to want to talk about that scope. Very popular. Next, Thermion XQ. It's from Pulsar Thermion XQ38, 2.5 power, $3,300. I am all about this scope for hog hunting. Okay. Hans said we're not going to pick our favorites. It's going to be hard for me not to, just for me. I mean, I just like that magnification on this scope. So it's a great scope. Next, we got the Infrared Bolt TL35. That's distributed by iRay USA. It is a 3-power base magnification, $3,300 on that. We've got the iRay Bravo, again, magic number, 3-power. That scope is super scope. We love that. It's $3,500. We've reviewed all these, but we reviewed that one recently as well. By the way, on that Thermion, that's a Thermion 2 XQ38. That's the newest version. I didn't put the 2 in there. Thermion 2. The regular Thermion XQ38 is discontinued now. Then we've got, Hans said we weren't going to mention it, but we are. It is the Bearing Optics Super Yoder, and I'm going to mention it because it's 3-power, and it falls into this price range. This is a 640 high-resolution scope. I have been using this scope, been using it in the field, already shot a bunch of hogs with it, and we'll be reviewing that later on. It's going to be $4,600, so that's going to be one of the least expensive 640 scopes coming on the market. Now, I'm not going to get into all the specifics. We mentioned these on a previous show on the State of the Industry show that we did, I think, last week. AGM has some 640s coming that are going to be all over this hog hunting category. They're going to range from 2-power to 2.5 power. Again, 640s. Prices are going to start at $39.99, go up to like $4,500. So, I mean, they're not here yet. We have very briefly, had a chance to get our hands on these. I think we actually have some demos of these coming very, very soon. I don't think I know enough about them, haven't used them in the field enough to want to throw them in here, and they're not available yet. It's probably going to be later in the fall. But, man, there's going to be some more good, quote, affordable 640s coming in this price range.
Yep. You snuck that Super Yoder back in there.
I did. I couldn't leave it out. It's 3-power. It's 640. It's the right price.
They need to give you an extra good Christmas gift or something. We don't get Christmas gifts from manufacturers, but
no,
you need to.
That's okay.
We need to because you've given them 2 mentions in 2 different of our setup shows. But anyway, I completely agree with it being in there. By the way, so we're going to focus now on the price range of $5,000 to $6,000. Best hog hunting setups. We've got the Pulsar Thermion, one of you and I's favorite. We've got them on rifles right now. Pulsar Thermion 2 XP50. It's a 2-power base magnification. Price on that's right at $5,000. It's one of our favorite, the XP50, all the way back to the trail model. If anybody listens to this show or has talked to us on the phone, they know that we have a soft spot in our head,
We do.
and our heart for that. And we will probably always have one mounted on a rifle at some time or some point.
And I don't know if you said this or not, and if you did, I apologize, folks. But every scope from here out is going to be a 640 by 480 high resolution. I just want to be clear. In these higher price range, they're all 640s.
Good point. We've got the Pulsar Thermion XG50, and that is a 3-power base magnification, $6,000 on that. I used it for a year. Love the scope, 3-power. That was the scope that got me to cross over from being a 2-power snob to stepping up into the 3-power. And I haven't looked back. I haven't looked back since the XG50. So, really got me started on liking that magnification level. We've got the Infrared Ricoh MK1 640 at 3-power for $6,000. And I think we got to mention, don't we, Jason, the Pulsar Trail 2 XP50.
It's so funny. I was over here scratching notes going, the Pulsar Trail 2 XP50 laser rangefinder.
What throws
what
people
moron made this list? That's what I want to know.
Throws people off is the laser rangefinder, so they automatically think
it does
coyote hunting rig. But it's a 2-power, so it's kind of one of these things doesn't look like the other. Some of these things aren't the same. Or 2-power to 16-power with the laser rangefinder. Heck, why not? If you can put it on there,
and folks,
just put it on there.
By the way, the moron that made this list is me. So I wanted to point out I was really not insulting Hans. I'm the moron. But it's funny, you started talking. I was like, oh my gosh, I left the Trail 2 off. So I'm glad you caught that too.
Yeah. So
$6,000, 2-power. And a lot of people choose that optic for hog hunting, not just because they want the laser rangefinder. Maybe they don't care about the laser rangefinder, but they like the design, they like the battery pack. They just like that style of scope. Yeah. So
I want to also say too that a 2-power optic does not mean that you can't use it over 100 yards. That's not true, especially a 640 scope. A 640, a 640 scope. I hog hunt. I've hog hunted a long time with an XP50 2-power and shot hogs from a lot of different ranges. I rarely take a shot over 200 yards, but I have dropped hogs over 200 yards, or hogs and coyotes pretty much. But I tend not to make a habit out of it. But a 640 2-power scope, you've got considerable range. And I will say this, all of these scopes on this list have picture-in-picture display. That is... if you have a scope with that tool on it, or if you're looking for a scope and you are interested in learning more about that tool, it's something I talk about quite a bit, but I use it a lot. Being able to take a very precise first shot with a zoomed in box at the top of the screen. If you don't know what picture-in-picture is, a small box at the top of the screen that has a more magnified image, but it leaves your full field of view up, your screen up, so you can, if you need to take follow-up shots. But that very first shot, make it a precise one, and then when all the hogs start running or coyotes start running, you can take good shots. But that is a tool that can help you cross over from not needing it at a 50, 75-yard shot to, hey, I think I'm going to turn this on at this 125-yard shot. So there's some people out there that think that a 2-power optic is not something for over 100 yards. Now, if 90% of my shots were over 100 yards, I probably would choose something else, something like the XG50 at 3-power. But all of these scopes in this $5,000 to $6,000 category have very good range. And when you buy that, you expect to get something of great quality that you can use in a lot of different conditions. And these are definitely scopes that have a lot of different uses.
Yeah, I think that there's probably some people that listen to what you just said, and you were dead on with that. They're probably saying, man, I'm really not exactly sure what he's talking about. Why can I use these even though they're 2-power and zoom out? Listen, folks, that's something you probably just have to call us. We can explain better. It's been explained in some past episodes. It does get confusing for people, the different resolutions and what that means, but it is true. A 640 by 480 high resolution scope will allow you to zoom up an extra time into your digital zoom and keep a good good image quality in that higher magnification. So he's right. Those scopes are definitely 2-in-1 scopes. And again, if you're still going, I have no idea what y'all are talking about, just give us a call when you get ready to buy something. We'll be glad to explain it and help you out. But those are fabulous scopes for hog hunting. And again, I think they will cross over well for coyote hunters. Right. Now, I want to talk about the, I guess, the highest of the high end, in my opinion, of what I think are good, viable options.
Looks like it's dominated by one brand.
It is. It's dominated by a great company called Envision. Right. Envision Optics, American made. These are legit optics in our opinion, and I think it's the general consensus of anybody who has used all the optics across the board. This is the best consumer hunting thermal optic made, that's available to American civilians. I mean, this is it. I think if you're wanting a hunting scope and you want the very best of the best, it's going to be an Envision optic. Right now, I just think they've got the very best image quality. And so I'm going to talk about the two scopes that I'm going to put in this hog hunting category. And it is the Envision Nox, that's Nox, the Nox 35. That's a 2.5 power unit. It's $6,795. Then we have the Envision Halo X 35. That's a 2.5 power, and it's $7,495. Again, high resolution, 640 by 480. Amazing image quality on these units. I think that if you're looking for, you're just, flat out, I want to buy the very best I can get. Don't care what it costs. This is it. Envision's a great company. 5-year warranties on all these optics. They're hard to get right now for fall of 2021. But if you're willing to wait for them, they're very, very good optics, and those will be great for hog hunting. Now, I know we haven't really dived in deep on any of these optics, but I do just want to say something here, because there's a lot of people probably wondering, what's the difference in a Nox 35 and a Halo X 35 other than $500 a difference? Basically, the Nox 35 is a very small unit. It is, compact, lightweight, and it does not have video recording. The Halo X 35 is essentially the exact same unit, same magnification, same image quality, same lens in it, all of that, but it is a larger unit. It takes an extra 18650 battery, so you're going to get a longer battery life, and it has internal video recording and some streaming options. So that's what you're paying the difference for. If you were just looking for a scope, didn't care about any kind of recording, whatever, you just want the smallest lightweight, that's going to be the scope to go with. There's the Nox, and then if you want the extra features, the Halo. I do like both those scopes for hog hunters.
I agree. So that rounds out our list. Boy, we got through that a little bit quicker than I thought we were going to do.
I tried to keep my talking to a minimum here. So I do think that, and I'll do my talking now. I think this is a great list. Hans and I talked about this on the coyote hunting setup. So if you watched that, you're probably going to hear us, say the same thing again here. That yes, there's going to be somebody that leaves a comment and says, what about my scope, or what about X brand, or whatever. If we left the brand off, or we left off the scope that you like, it doesn't mean that we necessarily think it's bad. It's just, this is what we believe are going to be the best choices for the dollar. And I also know that a lot of guys will hear this and they'll say, okay, this is great. I'm in this, $3,000 and under range, or I'm in this, $3,000 to $4,000, but you just listed a bunch of scopes that mean absolutely nothing to me. That is where we can help you. You give us a call. We'll be able to hear more about what you're doing, what your terrain is, what the style of hunting that you're going to be doing. I talk to a lot of guys that, they're not doing this style of hunting that we do. And that's fine. I mean, we do it all as well, whether it's sitting in stands or over feeders. And, that's the other thing, hunting with kids. you're going to need a different scope. I had a guy call last week and he goes, man, he said, I'm going to be taking my kids 80% of the time. And he was a very experienced hunter. He just hadn't done a lot of thermal hunting. And he knew right off the bat, he said, I need something with a little more magnification than I would personally want. He said, I'm all about field of view. But when I take my kids hunting with daytime scopes, they're cranking up the magnification. That they want to see that animal. And that's something we see a lot with kids or maybe newer hunters, is they want a little more magnification. So you need to think about all those things. And again, we're glad to walk you through those different steps of, asking you these questions of how you're going to be hunting, where you're going to be hunting, what you're going to be doing with it, feeders, no feeders, spot stalk, whatever it is. And so anyway, the only reason I'm getting into all this is because I know there's a lot of people that just listen to this show and they said, guys, I just listened for 30 minutes and I don't know any more than I did because I'm confused. Well, we're here to help you take that confusion out of this.
Yeah, absolutely. So, one thing, Jason, before we wrap up, we get a lot of requests for, and it seems very popular, is buddy scopes. What's a good buddy scope? So I'm going to put you on the spot. If you could choose a couple optics that, if somebody calls up and says, hey, I hog hunt, can you give me a couple options for buddy scopes? What two out of this list are you gonna recommend? And keep in mind, all y'all out there, buddy scope, usually they're not want to spend more than, $3,000 or $4,000 for a buddy scope, something like that. So what are you going to tell people, Jason?
I was just about to say, you got to give me a price range. You know I can't do that.
Well, buddy scope, nobody wants to buy a high-end buddy scope. Usually, they have their nice scope that they keep on, but they want to have something. A lot of times they want to have something that is not very expensive and that they could double as a monocular. So, which one? I'm curious to see what you've been.
I'm going to cop out here because I think that there's too many good options. I think under the $3,000 mark, it's going to be like, this is not helpful. It's going to be a rattler, a hogster. That's pretty much what's there. I mean, for me, if it's truly going to be a buddy scope, I'm probably, and I might use it as a handheld, part of the time, I'm probably going to go with the hogster or the rattler 35 because I think that the 2-power is a little better all around. And I think it works fine as a monocular, as a handheld magnification. I think it also, if I am taking a buddy or a kid or a brother-in-law or somebody, a friend who maybe just doesn't hunt as much, they're probably going to appreciate the little higher magnification in that 2-power than the 1.5. So I would say hogster, rattler 35 in that price range. And if we bump it up one time, I'm going to go with either the Super Hogster or the Iray Bravo. I really wish they were a little less than 3-power again, especially for my use, especially as a handheld, possibly using it, but they have the right size, the right shape. And that's one thing we say about these larger scopes, whether it's something like a Pulsar Thermion or the Iray Bolt, or in my opinion, even something like a Pulsar Trail that's bigger. I know there's guys use those as handhelds, but I think if I'm going to use it as a handheld, I still want to be able to cram it into a bag or something pretty easily and quickly, easily put it on a rifle for a buddy. So I would definitely lean towards those optics.
Good choice. I agree with all those.
Would you choose something different?
No, a lot of people ask, and I always recommend either the bearing optics, just like you mentioned, the 35 or the Rattler 35. I think the 2-power is, like I said in the past, is a good magnification to start at. And both of them are so small. They're the size of.
The size is a big deal.
Yes, the size of some monoculars, but really good scopes and good features too, especially on that Rattler. It's got some really good features on it. But I am testing right now, as you know, not testing, but getting some more video and doing the review, and that will be coming out soon, of the Iray Bravo. So you just mentioned that, and been out hunting with it a lot. Took it with us when we hunted with Ashley. I've been shot a hog with it last night at midnight on the way home from another hunt. So been getting some good use and good mileage out of that thing, and super impressed. But so we want to thank y'all for joining us. This has been episode 178 of the Late Night Vision Show. I'm going to say this is a category that obviously is important to us, for all you hog hunters, southern hog hunters, and for all you guys and ladies that are up north and the Northeast, Northwest that say, hey, I come to Texas 3 or 4 times a year to hog hunt, and I'm very interested in what you guys have to say here. Thank you all for listening. So this has been the best hog hunting setups for 2021. These are the types of shows that we do throughout the year. I know at the end of the year, we typically do our best of series. So we do our favorite choices in the different price categories. And I'm going to tell you, Jason, it's going to be really tough this year. It's going to be.
It is. I'm dreading not liking it. I think we're going to skip that show.
We're both dreading it because there are so many good choices, and it's going to be tough for us to do this, but we got to do it. The fans demand it. We're going to do a best of series again this year at the end of the year. So y'all definitely stay tuned for that. I will remind you though, when you're thinking about the best hog hunting scope or the best coyote hunting scope, just think of 2 things when you call up, when you talk to us. What's your budget and what's your average distance shot? From there, with those 2 pieces of information, we can get you narrowed down into the best optics. So if you're looking to find something night vision or thermal related, you can do so at outdoorlegacygear.com. You can call and talk to me or Jason, 877-350-1818 if you're interested in purchasing something. Thank y'all. We are going to be back next Thursday. You can find all of our past episodes on the latenightVisionShow.com. You can find Jason over at Outdoor Legacy on Facebook, on Instagram. You can find him on YouTube at Outdoor Legacy. You can find me on YouTube at Hans ETX, Hans ETX, all the hunts and the shorter reviews and the through optic videos. I send a lot of people over there that have watched the show and they're looking for some more video to look through. I always send them to my channel. And you can also find me on Instagram at Hans ETX. That's it. It's your turn. You're up.
All right. Well, I'm up. Well, listen, folks, we do appreciate you coming and tuning into the show, whether you're watching on YouTube or you're listening on one of the podcast apps. We do appreciate it. We hope you enjoyed it. And thanks for coming back every week. For those of you who do, please subscribe. Subscribing costs you nothing. All it does is hopefully let you know when we have a new episode, but just tune in every Thursday. We release a new episode. And we hope to see y'all again next week. But between now and then, y'all stay safe in the fields and keep making those bacon pancakes.